So what we're going to look at in this video is one of the most profitable trading setups I have. And before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the video if you want to see more of this type of content. So this setup is a false break setup. You may have heard of it before. And it's one of the best setups there is, in my opinion. And we're going to go through why that is. So to start with, the false break setup, what is a false break? So very simply, it's where we have levels on a chart and price pushes past them and then reverses in the other direction. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to go over a couple examples right now and discuss where these opportunities are, what you should be looking for, what qualifies them. And I think I look at this a little bit different than most others. So for example, we have Bitcoin chart pulled up. This is just from this morning here. And this false break, so right here, we have a swing high right here. So you can see if we look to the left, we have a 1 hour chart. And you see there's some big bars in Bitcoin. The trend is short term down. Now it could reverse here, absolutely. But let's take a look. So we get this level here. We have a swing high and we have a good sell off. It puts in a new low. And then it pulls back to the same level, the exact same level to the pip. Right, this is what I'm looking for, to the exact same level. We get a massive sell-off. Okay, so what do we know about this level? Well, we know there's lots of sellers at this level, right? So then the next time price comes back, to this level right here, you can see we do get this pin bar here. This is a false break. It breaks the level, and then the price closes back in the level. And I usually like to see this happen within 3 bars max. And for me, that's a shorting opportunity. So if we just measure out that opportunity that presented itself this morning and see the type of risk reward available on that, then it hit a max like 2.5 to 1. So that's a good trade setup. 2.5 to 1, not bad. And if we look at this a little bit deeper, we can notice that it also broke kind of a little consolidation here by about half a pip. Right? If we zoom in right there, you can see. So it kind of took out one decent resistance level and a really minor resistance level, all in that one bar, and then reversed. That's a false break. That's the opportunities I'm looking for. Now, these false breaks, they can unfold in an infinite number of ways. And what we want to make sure is that we're taking these with trend. So when we look at this short term, we can see if we look at the 1 hour chart, it was continuous selling pressure, continuous. So we just want to stick with the direction of the trend. That's super important. And we want to try and get it. Ideally, we're trying to get the move inside, we're trying to get a move inside this big move. And that's what's going to give us a large reward to risk. So let's look at another false break setup, and let's kind of look at the differences here. This is, I'm showing you decisions that you're going to have to make while trading in real time. So here's a false break setup. Well, why is this a false break? Well, we have a swing high here, and we get a strong push off, creates a new low, right? So we know, okay, we have a decent amount of sellers there. But then what happens when the price comes back up? It breaks this bar, closes above, but then there's this 50 EMA right here. And you can see it rejects off the 50 EMA by like a pip. And then the price within 3 bars closes back within this level. To me, that's a false break. If we look where we are on the hourly, look where this green arrow is on the hourly. We're with the momentum, right? We had these 2 big bars of selling. We're selling with the momentum. And that's the false break. We can get a little more technical. We can say, oh, it also rejected off of the 50 on the 1 hour at the same time, right? Like you can see the rejection. If I zoom in on this chart here, you can see that bar also rejected, but that's a function of when the bar closed as opposed to right here. So we see this in real time. To me, that is a setup. So let's just go ahead and measure out this one. And this becomes why they're so powerful, because when you catch them with trend, you can get some big moves. So here, if you would have taken this, just trail it off the 20 EMA, like when you got a close above the 20 EMA, which is the orange line, that's right here, that would have given a 5.89 to 1 reward to risk. So there's another fantastic setup. But it is slightly different than the last one. So you can see how the price is unfolding different. And these are the decisions we have to make as traders. So let's take a look at another example of a false break, one that just recently happened. Again, these ones become not quite as clear, but this is why I'm going to say that if you like this setup and it makes sense to you, then what you want to do is spend 100 hours studying false break setups. So when we look at the hourly chart from the top, you can see we have some big bars coming down, and all of our moving averages are now starting to slope down. Our 200 EMA right here is flattening out. And if we look inside that here on the 5-minute, right, we have a strong move down, and then we get a pullback. Now, where does that pullback go to? Well, let's just go ahead and look at some levels here. Well, what do we have? We have kind of a support and resistance level right here. And we have another minor level right below it, maybe right about here. All right, so we have a couple levels, and what happens? So this level here, price comes up to, it actually false breaks this level a little bit, and then we get a good sell-off, puts in a new low, right? We have a low here, and then we have a lower low here, puts in a lower low there, good strong selling, price comes back to the level, and you can see if we zoom in on this bar, I'm going to drop an arrow so you can see we get a close above and a close above the 200 EMA. And then the next bar, price immediately reverses back down. It immediately reverses back down, closes below 200 EMA. So that itself, to me, is a trade setup. And this is trading. So what happens? This next bar also false breaks, right? If we go over here and we look at this, it also false breaks everything again and closes below the 200 EMA. So if you would have entered on this trade, you may have got stopped out on this bar depending on where you ran your stop. But the setup is still good. So we get another false break. That's a second chance to get into the trade. And let's take a look at that. Let's assume you entered on this and you took that trade. Well, let's measure this out. And this is again why the 20 EMA is just so powerful with these types of setups. So we get a close above the 20 EMA right here on this yellow bar, and that would have given that setup a 4.21 to 1 reward to risk, right? I mean, the maximum opportunity, the maximum profit available on that swing was almost 6 to 1 would be the maximum. If you're the perfect trader, you're not, I'm not the perfect trader. So let's assume you got a 4 to 1 on that. Maybe you took a loser on the first one. That's fine. Your net on this setup would have been still a 3 to 1. 3 to 1 reward to risk. That's a good setup. So you can see here, these are all false breaks. They unfold differently. And it's super important to understand what's going on in like how the higher time frame is unfolding, because we want to be trading in the direction of the higher time frame momentum. And that's really the big secret here. If we try and take false breaks that are not in the direction of the trend, you're going to find that those don't work out. I mean, it doesn't take much to see those. We kind of have one right here, if you will, and that turns into a losing trade, right? You can see, let me just throw an arrow here. It's not the cleanest false break setup, but you can see it still. That turns into a losing trade. So it's super important that we take these with the trend, and because otherwise, every move down becomes a false break, every little low, and those are all losing setups. So higher time frame, looking at the momentum, looking at what's going on with our moving averages, and trading in that direction, and looking for the big moves off of the highs and lows that are put in. So another example is oil. So if we look at oil, and if we look inside this move here, so if we look on the 1 hour where I'm zoomed into on the left hand side, we have this yellow bar, and you can see there's just quite a bit of buying. Most of the bars are one color. And here, right where this line is, this is where the line is on the hourly chart. This is where it is on the 5-minute chart. So you can see here what happened. Well, let's look at how this price is unfolded on this. All right, so we have a 20 EMA that's rising. All of our moving averages up here are rising. Previously, price had pulled back to this 20 EMA and went below the 50 and then got bid back up. And then the next move, well, we just false broke this 20 EMA right here. Right, we're looking for patterns in recent price action. You can see went below it by like a pip and then got bid right back up. Okay. Well, what's happening here? Well, we have a minor swing point here, right? We have a double bottom, and then a good move off it creates a new high, and then the price pulls back, and we get a wick just below that level, like a pip below that level, and then what happens? Price gets bid right back up, and then moves higher. So this becomes a false break of this level and also of the 20 EMA. So this one becomes harder for an entry, not as clean. Why? Because the next bar is huge. So a person has to decide, right, with their false break research, are you going to wait for the next bar to close, or are you going to take it once it takes out the high? And these are little intricacies that end up making a ton of money or losing a ton of money, depending on how good you are at reading the market, right? So something like this trade ended up making a 2-to-1 move, and you can go through and find these all over. And what the important thing is that we're looking for these where we have a strong directional moves, meaning most of the bars in the moves are one primary color. We don't want to do it in chop. Like when we're looking at this, like there's a lot of sideways movement here. We don't want to be buying in the middle of a sideways move. We want to be buying towards the extremes or selling towards the extremes of those. So that's false breaks. That's how I trade them. And I think this is one of the most profitable setups because you can capture huge moves with low risk, and I would say that it's probably my favorite setup going. Because, yeah, so what you can do, if you like this, if you have questions about false break setups, go ahead, put them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. If anything, what's different about how I've shown you these false breaks versus the books that you've read, the videos that you've seen. I think everybody tries to cherry pick the perfect false breaks, and my goal of this video is to show you kind of real-time trading decisions that you have to make. And there's a big difference between what's the perfect setup in the textbook and how the market unfolds and the decisions you have to make. There's a massive disconnect in that. So with that, see you in the next one.